Hi, Dolly Michira for the Caregiver's Voice. Episode 9, we'll talk about caregiving and vulnerability. This topic came to me on Friday, mainly because of the questions I've been receiving across. So one theme that came out very strongly was, how do you manage to be vulnerable even amidst caregiving, or how did you learn to be vulnerable? And just to give a backdrop just before I touch on two questions, at least among the multiple questions I received, vulnerability wasn't something that was natural to me. Yes, I know I'm open. I talk a lot, and I feel I'm an open book, if I may call it that. But then being vulnerable is something very different. And learning to be vulnerable was a process, and it was a journey for me. Just knowing that I can call out for help. And I remember the most distinct example for me was when we needed cash. We needed money for my sister when she was in hospital, and I just couldn't find it in myself to say, hey, Lisa, hey, Mogusu, or hey, whoever my friends were, that I need cash. And I remember the thing that I did was, all my salary that I had received for that specific month, I just pushed it forward to pay for the hospital bills. And that meant at least I put myself, of course, at risk. And that takes me to the first question I think that I remember I received. And the first question was, what is the difference between being at risk and being vulnerable? To be honest, I don't have a good by the book answer for this, but then how I would perceive it, being at risk is mainly putting yourself in a position where I think you just can't help it, or you can't find a solution to your problems. Being vulnerable is opening yourself up and admitting that you are in a situation that needs support from others. Being at risk can also have a different side to it. It could be you're too vulnerable to the extent that you put yourself in harm's way. You trust people too much, you let yourself open, or you let your guard down, that you allow yourself to be abused, maybe emotionally, or allow yourself to be abused physically. And that's a position that, there's a fine line between allowing yourself to be vulnerable and then being at risk, or putting your health at risk. And I would say an example in caregiving would be, you take care, or you care for the person or your loved one too much, to the extent that you put your future at risk because you can't focus on what to do in your life ahead, or you can't focus on your priorities at the moment, or you actually put your health at risk. And I think that is how I would respond to this particular question. But if anyone else has a really, really good answer, I'm really open to ideas. Then I would go to a second question that I received. It says, Dolly, I find you very honest and blatant, and one person who's always ready to take up hard conversations with anyone. Thanks for that compliment. So in the course of your caregiving journey, are there days you found yourself too honest that you end up hurting Brenda also? How do you take up hard conversations with Brenda, knowing that they're necessary for both of you, but also might end up hurting one party, and most especially her? Thank you for caring so much about my sister more than myself. So how I would respond to this question is, for sure there are some conversations we've had to have with my sister. Her name is Brenda. And they've not been the easiest conversation. They've been hard, they've been tough, they've been difficult, but they've had to be, hard. Yeah. For me, I would say I didn't do it on my own. I really needed therapy to do it, because initially I was stuck in this cycle of I don't know how to open myself up. I don't know how to talk to my sister. I don't know how to communicate these tough messages without hurting myself or without hurting her. But then therapy taught me that for me to have these difficult conversations with her without hurting her, it just meant being real and putting all the facts on the table and saying, hey, this is what is happening. This is how it impacts my work life. This is how it impacts our family life and how we relate to each other. And this is how I propose we work going forward. I'd say there are times I've hurt her, but we found a way around healing the wounds, or it's inevitable, to be honest. There's no situation where we've both won. There are so many instances where she's lost or I lost, but then I think that's the sad reality of caregiving. It's that you will never win at all costs. Something will always have to give, and I think it's just about learning how to do it with love and with care, knowing that it's not a perfect situation, but try and find meaning in what you do, and try and find ways to actually heal the wounds even after they occur. I think that's how I would respond to this question. I know I have not given a perfect answer either, but I know like being vulnerable is something that is very difficult, but it's something that is worthwhile when you get to it, and it's something that we all need and should seek to have at all costs, to open ourselves and to just allow ourselves to feel whatever we want to feel or whatever the situation calls for us to feel. I'd like to end this moment with a really, really interesting poem that I read some time back, and I'll just borrow it from my phone. So it's a poem by Cindy Sherry, and it says, "Why do you watch the rain like that?" he asked. "Because," I smiled, pressing my forehead to the window pane. "Vulnerability is a beautiful thing." "Vulnerability?" he asked again. "Can you see it? The way it falls so effortlessly, without the slightest promise of a soft landing. It's beautiful." "It's just rain," came his reply, barely audible over the sound of fading footsteps. "I don't expect you to see the beauty in it," I exhaled, fogging the glass. "That's all I'll ever be to you, just rain." So, in essence, some people may not see what vulnerability means, but it's just a call to still be vulnerable because someone will see the point of it. It's not just rain, it's not just pain, it's not just emotions. There is more to it, and there's a price. Like, it's a priceless thing, and it also settles your mind when you let yourself be vulnerable. Feel free to share your experiences on being vulnerable as a caregiver. It would be really, really nice to get to hear your experiences about how you learned to be vulnerable or about your transition to vulnerability. Thank you for being part of this community, and my heart goes out to all caregivers and all those people that really struggle to express their emotions or be vulnerable. And don't put yourself at risk. Thank you so much. And this episode was made possible by Mogusu, my friend, and Lisa, my very, very good friends. We actually happen to be at Ngong Hills. So if you ever want to find yourself hiking in town, please get to Ngong Hills and visit the turbines and hang out with the sheep. See you next time. Bye.